Hi, good evening. My name is Jay Rothman. I am the host of the show. Welcome to Real Men, Real Talk Live. Welcome back to the show, viewers. Welcome back to our talk show this evening. I want to introduce our co-hosts. We have Evis Love coming in from a place he calls home, down under. Welcome back, Ev.
Oh, lovely to be back, my brother. Really excited to launch the show once again.
Yes, so this is season 4, episode 178. Tonight we have two special guests. We have Avery joining us this evening, and we have Kaimalu joining us this evening as our special guest. Welcome to Real Men Real Talk Live. Both of you, it's an honor to have met both of you in 20. Well, Avery, we met in 2023, I believe, and
Correct. Yeah.
Kaimalu, we met just recently at the beginning of the year in 24. But tonight's show is all about episode 178 is Are We Enough as Men? And basically what we're going to do tonight is we're going to dive in deep into are we enough as men to attract love without pain in our relationships? What is our purpose as men? And how are we attracting women with confidence and courage? How do we break free from society and family belief systems to be our authentic selves, living and loving our best lives as men? And do we live in self sabotaging judgment most days? And last but not least, are we enough even when it comes to how we create wealth, money in our careers? And so, Kamayu, since I believe this is a topic that was, I believe this was one that you picked in our production meeting, I want to invite you to kick us off, get us hot, get the show going tonight. What does this topic mean for you right here, right now?
Brother, thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you for having me on the set. To be enough as a man. For me, over the last month, there's been a lot of just re-examining programming and belief systems around what masculine energy is and tuning into what that feels like, what that looks like, just an authentic expression as opposed to the ideas that I've picked up from TV, movies, parents, school system. And especially in terms of relating and connecting with women has been a big reflection point for me in examining these beliefs. For a long time, I never thought of myself as a super masculine man because I'm not super big, not super built. And I've had this idea that a man needs to look a certain way in order to be enough, to attract the woman, to attract the career, to be confident. And what I've been realizing more and more is that to be enough as a man really just starts with being enough for myself before I start bringing in relationships or career. It's how can I show up for myself first? Yeah. One of the things I've learned recently is that when I actually let go of ideas about who I'm supposed to be and allow myself just to be, I am exactly the man that I need to be.
Wow. Well, right there, I think we got a show. What do you make of that, Ev?
We got to show, my brother. We got to show. But beautiful and nice opening, my brothers, and great to be back on the set and having our brothers as guests on for the intro. Look, we've circled a couple of times around this topic, Jay, and we've talked about the masculine energy. And look, we might even go back, 100 shows ago when we may have first talked about it. There still seems to be this underpinning and underlying program that's running in the collective, particularly as males. There's a lot of pressure on the masculine energy at the moment. And as the divine and feminine energy has risen on this planet, that means there's a lot of healing still to go for the masculine energy. Mm-hmm. And it's a process. It's all about transformation. Mm-hmm. So we are still in that transformation, my brothers and sisters. Mm-hmm. And as our brother beautifully opened up and he talked about, the influences, the distractions on the outside, the media, those people that looked after us as children, those, places we may be visiting, whatever we may be influenced by on the external world. But as he also mentioned, really harnessing that awareness and being the inner man versus the external man, really, basing our worth on those things outside of self, really has a lot of men sinking into this pressure and this tension within their lives. Now, look, I've talked about I help many men on their journey. And one place that I really do come in and talk about is traditional ways, and being able to, share with them how we were brought up as youngsters, as men, as in boys within, our traditional ways and tribes. And we always had, from the get-go we were born, we always had support. We always had a group of other men that always had that supportive nature that gave us the security, it gave us the stability, and it gave us that sense of safety to be able to align to our natural talents, gifts, and capabilities. Now, we all have our own set of skills. We all have our own set of talents. We are all creators, brothers and sisters. For me, it's really been able to align to those own talents, gifts, and capabilities. And when we actually do, we actually start to bring in those particular circumstances, situations, or those opportunities within our life where it's not such a forceful way of living in our life, but a life in flow. We don't have to force our way and burn our asses out to get to that, particular goal. We don't have to burn ourselves out trying to think that we have to find that beloved or loved one within our life. We don't have to burn ourselves out at the gym all the time. Look, I've been through all of them, brothers and sisters. And when I've been able to let go of that idea of control within my life and know that what I've always said, my A team, my ascension team, that they're behind me and that I surrendered to that, then that's when I started to work in flow, my brothers and sisters. Now, bringing it here onto the earthly plane, there are a lot of things, obviously, that we have to do to also maintain that masculine energy. Because like I said, it is the grounding, it is the earthing, it is the stability and the security within our energy as men. So the quicker we harness that, and like I said, it doesn't have to be in such a fast pace, but as we harness that within our life, it creates a certainty within our life. And that is what a lot of men, I think, lack within their lives at the moment. It's the certainty of who they are.
What do you make of that, Avery? What are you hearing so far?
What I hear is it's basically what I was talking about. It's about the self-discovery in ourselves, right? It's not allowing the external validation, not allowing the outside influence affect who you truly are inside, to really discover, when everything is ripped away from me, when I have no influence from anything but myself, when I'm looking at myself, who am I? Who am I to myself? Who am I to society without any influence from them? And I feel that's a journey that I feel Kai's probably on as well. I feel that's what I'm on, is the self-discovery. Because, for the longest, I've always adapted, or I call myself a chameleon to, change and form based off what society wanted me to be, or what maybe a group of my friends maybe wanted me to be, or even just a group set of people where I feel like I'm going into this new territory and I'm changing and adapting to what this territory wants me to be, versus allowing to be my full self right from the beginning, right? Walking in with the confidence, knowing that I don't need to change or reflect what I'm seeing in order to be accepted. It's either, be who I am and accept me for who I am, or this is just the wrong place for me and I'm going to excuse myself out of here, right? So no, I think it's beautiful, the fact that I kind of feel that as a main core is just, who are you when it's just you? What is your self-discovery? What is your own personal influence? What is your own personal beliefs? Excluding the external forces that come in that prey on us all the time as men.
So here's my question: how do we find our way home? Because as Ev said, we have pressure from we're in a pressure cooker. Where it's a steamer that's on high.
Yeah.
And we got that pressure coming from all different directions. We get it from our families,
Right.
Our family belief systems. We get it from school, from church, from the playground. We get it from the preachers, the pastors. We get it from our employment. We get it from, no matter where we turn, we're getting bombarded. And
Absolutely.
of course, what we haven't even mentioned is social media today.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
just media, the global media. No matter where we turn, we could end up with whiplash all day long.
Yeah.
As Lionel Richie once said, all night long, I believe that song goes something like that. So how do we find our way there? What's that looking like for you, Avery?
That's a wonderful question, right? It's complex, right? It's complicated. It's a journey that has many ups and downs. It's not something that, even I feel, if you're heading to that path where you're able to escape, there's going to be times where you're going to have drawbacks, right? There's going to be times where you're going to stumble and come back. And I think the most thing to recognize during that journey, that process, know that you will definitely always move forward, but know that sometimes you may have pitfalls, you may fall down sometimes, but don't linger on those. Don't settle on those thinking that you're not moving forward or that you're not following the right path for yourself, right? It's important to realize that, journey, healing, self-discovery, finding yourself, it's a lot to navigate in this world, and you will have setbacks. You will have times where you just don't feel like, I'm not following the right path. But when you ultimately understand the journey that you're ultimately trying to accomplish, you will keep going forward, you'll keep growing, and you'll understand, you'll finally, maybe hopefully get to a point where you can break free from all that. Like, I'm not saying that it's a very easy journey. That's going to be difficult for all of us. We're heavily influenced by so many things that society brings on us, work, social media, and it's very tough. But I feel the main core is you just have to keep pushing, right? You have to keep moving forward. One of my favorite animated movies was on Disney. It was called Meet the Robinsons, and the main theme of that was like, always keep moving forward, right? No matter how many times you fail, always keep pushing forward. And I've used that philosophy in my life. I use that philosophy in everything that I do. And even in my own journey, when I realized that, hey, I'm stumbling here a little bit, I may be paused, but I'm going to keep moving forward from this regardless of what happens.
Allowing that just to settle in.
Yeah.
And I think what I heard you, I'm going to paraphrase you. It's about trusting. It's about patience and trusting. And for me personally, it was about understanding that what I had been carrying as a man and believing as my truth wasn't mine. As a man in his mid 50s at the time, when I hit that moment of no mas, no more, not here, not now, not today. Like, it's not going to continue.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to finally realize that everything I had been fighting for in all my relationships, it wasn't even mine. How often do we do that as husbands, as boyfriends, as partners, as loves, where we're in these relationships where we're defending or we're offending. and we're offending or defending a belief system that we inherited. But yet, is it really ours? And how important is it to live in it and to hold on to it? So for me, the first step was total surrender, surrendering that it was time for me to let go of everything that I thought was the truth. Because you've heard me say this before on a few prior episodes over the past 3.5 years or more, is that everything that I thought was the truth in my life ended up becoming a lie. And everything that I thought was a lie, perhaps may be the truth. And that for me, that was truly the foundation of creating and building a new way to live my life. And in doing so, everything changed. Everything changed. I changed how I saw myself. I changed even what I saw in the mirror. And I changed how I treated myself, the spoken and unspoken words. And then, of course, the outer band of that was, how did I show up for other people in my life? My relationships today are very different than they ever were, because I've evolved, and through that courage to step in on that journey of self-discovery, I found my way home. And for me, that was falling in love with myself. Now, I'm not saying that from an egoic perspective. I think you guys know me well enough now to understand that. I'm talking about falling in love with this heart that had been walled off, that had been shut down for so many decades because I didn't feel safe. Kaimalu, what do you make of all what we've all sharing here? You've been a good listener for a bit here now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing, brother. Yeah, one of the things I heard Avery speak on was the kind of the fall. You know, a big part of my journey has been choosing to trust my intuition, and in initially entering into that space, I struggled to discern at first what was my ego and what was my intuition. And there was a lot of trial and error there, and kind of falling back down and choosing to get back up anyways. In terms of how I show up for myself, mirror work has been a really powerful practice for me. Just being able to look into the mirror and into my own eyes and say, I love you, and feel what comes up, feel what's missing there. And as I've done this, I've discovered a lot of beliefs that are not mine about myself, trying to fit in social circles, trying to be a certain thing in a romantic relationship, trying to be a big brother to my younger sister, and then realizing that there's this own inner child that I've been ignoring. And so then shifting all of that energy and really listening, what is true for me? What am I missing? And how can I then give that to myself?
Beautiful. Beautiful. I want to shift gears real quick here and take us to showing up. Are we enough as men? That question, how does that play out in how we create income in our lives, our careers, our jobs? What does that mean for you, Ev? What have you learned about yourself? Are you enough as a man, and how does it dial into how you create, a roof over your head, or money to have food, so on and so forth?
Loaded question, my brother, but I'm going to try and top it like this. If you're even asking yourself that question, if I'm enough as a man, you're going to have to start taking auditory. How did I make my changes? Number one, I took responsibility. Responsibility from where I'd come from to where I am now in that place. Once I took responsibility, I start taking ownership straight away in my life. Now, whether that was in relationships, whether that was in money, career, whether that was even in my health, the three big ones down here in the 3D. I took responsibility. That way I took my power back. So when I take that responsibility, it really harnesses part of that masculine energy of you being able to be a decision maker now within your own life. Not putting the blame, guilt, shame, all these little frequencies on other people, places, and things outside of yourself. You actually take your power back. So you find where the leaks are happening. Yeah, we can blame it on mum and dad. We can blame it on the teacher, uncle, auntie, uncle, or whoever it may be. But at the end of the day, this is your life. And to take that responsibility, straight away, you're actually already building your confidence as a man. You're actually building more strength. You're building mental strength. You're building emotional resilience. So you've checked in with the reality that you're currently at. You're taking the daily auditory or where you've come from. Now we can actually start learning about a blueprint or a map to get us out of the mess that we may have been in. Now, helping many men on their journey, what I see from the successful men that I help, and look, there's some successful men out there that you may see as successful in certain things within their life that are absolutely blocked in other channels. So to me, this is a holistic thing within our life. To answer your question, brother, if you're having problems wrapped around money, career, or anything within that sort of area within your life, this comes back to your worth. It comes back to your value as a man. Really understanding, like I said, that connection between value, worth, and then learning where those leaks have come from. You're going to have to learn, okay, where was that self-esteem? Where was it struck? What was the hit that I took to lower my confidence? Because when you build that self-worth, whether that's from building yourself within your health, whether it's building your relationships, you're going to see it intertwine and interconnect even into the career. For me personally, I've always looked after my body. And I say it day after day after day. It is your temple or it is your tomb. If you are not looking after your body, how can you have a strong mind to be able to find yourself and navigate through this crazy world we're living in at the moment as a man? The masculine energy knows himself. He does not allow distractions outside of self to get in the way of his purpose, his vision, his values, or his meaning within his life. So that's my little bit about that, Jay.
Wow. By the way, viewers, if you, as you're listening in, if you should have any questions that come up for you, drop them in the comment section, and we'll do our best to highlight a few of them. As we are tapping into Are We Enough as Men, we've touched on a little bit about relationships with the opposite sex. We've touched on just now a little bit about from the career perspective. Avery, you have anything you'd like to jump in as it relates to our relationship with our self as Are We Enough as Men, and creating our status in society as it relates to the career that we're holding?
Yeah, no, definitely. I kind of, something that Evis was talking about as far as, what was it in your life that struck your self-esteem, right? That altered your mind thinking that you had to be more of this person, more of this worth than you actually put yourself on. Were you prior of that, self-esteem blow, prior to that external influence, were you proud and confident and happy with the worth and the value that you found for yourself? Was it good for you? And then, taking that blow, how that affects you differently as far as like, okay, now I feel like I have to be this value because, Facebook told me I have to be that, or I have to be in this type of career because, that's where TikTok told me I'll get all the women, right? I got to be this and a third to tell me like to have that baddie or whatever the case may be that, we use today as social media. But, you strip all that away and it's like, would you have been just happy with what you were obtaining, right? Are you gathering all of this self-worth, all of these values, all of these materialistic things, whatever the case, to flaunt this ego that's actually not even yours, to present to society so you can, get the women, get the praise, whatever the case may be. And, is that blocking, as Evis was saying, those other structures in your masculinity that could really unleash into who you really are. But, the reason I brought that up is because I felt like I think there was a time in my life where, I was right out of college and, I got my first, pretty good, decent job, had a nice little apartment. I was completely just happy and just content where I was, but not so still ambitious as far as, wanting things for myself, but like not from any, external influence. But, it was my perfect little piece, piece of paradise in my eyes. But to maybe outside society standards or to, anyone else, it could seem like, oh, he's maybe like living low class or he doesn't have much money or the case may be, which in reality, I had more value and worth than I already ever had in my life, just being completely content where I was and happy. So it's just interesting to hear that, just what was that blow, right? And that self-confidence. And then now it's being amplified with how we are portrayed ourselves in social media and trying to live this sense on plastic life. Like we're all trying to strive to be this perfect person, perfect man, perfect woman, perfect being, always having the most money, the most value. And it's like, but it's like when you start to strip down to it, who's it really for? Like, are you doing it because you're trying to flaunt for society? And if that's the case, then what does that tell you about yourself? Like if you're not, what are your actual worth and values? If you're constantly always trying to find, the external value, what is your actual value? And if society wasn't telling you this is how you need to be, would you live your life differently? Would you discover something completely different in yourself that isn't, the standard flow of what's happening in society? What if you followed your own and told society, like, I don't care what you think my value is as a man, or if you think I'm a high value, low value, I know my value. And that's perfectly fine with me. I don't need your acceptance, right? So,
Beautiful.
yeah.
I love that. I'm gonna piggyback off of that, Avery, and share that. I'd say that for me, when the pivot happened, was when I opened my heart,
Mm,
because my heart was armored. It was walled off from, I
mhm,
call it, the egoic mind, and that was my ego protecting the part of me that never felt I was enough.
yeah.
I think we touched on it in a production meeting. What is the imposter syndrome? Are we enough as a men? I'll tell
Mhm,
you this: even when I achieved it, when I made it to a vice president role in corporate America, senior leadership role, I held that position for almost a decade, and
mm,
I can't tell you how many times I sat in that corner office on a subconscious level in fear. The fear was if they only found out the truth about me, which is how I felt about myself, I'd be
mm,
whacked, because I never felt that I was enough. I didn't feel like I didn't have a master's or a doctorate in business.
mhm,
And here I am analyzing spreadsheets and making decisions for a multi-million dollar organization,
mhm,
feeling less than. I was not enough as a man, even when I had achieved it. And I didn't achieve it because my father owned the company. I achieved it because I worked very hard to meet the goals, to reach that level. But even when I had it, it still wasn't enough. So I want to just let you all in a little secret here, which is what I'm sharing, my secret. I was living in the imposter syndrome. And I'll tell you what, now that's not going to go away in a New York minute until you go in here, until you find your way home to your heart.
mm,
You find your authentic self and you value your own worth. It doesn't matter what other people think. What matters most is what you feel about yourself.
mm,
And only then can you truly find what I call the artist in the soul. And I didn't really find that even when I was in creative my whole career in corporate America. I truly didn't find my artist until I stepped out, until I had the courage to really go on a trip, a journey, without the plant medicine, that is. I'll just qualify that right here, right now. I'm not saying it's not for, I'm putting it down. It just wasn't what I used to access the true essence of my spirit, of what I love. What I found was loving what I love to do.
mhm,
And ultimately, what it came down to was first liking what I saw when I looked in the mirror.
mhm,
And then once I removed that mask of how I thought, I thought I needed to show up, My life began to change. My life went into I call a full court pivot.
Mhm.
Notice I didn't say full court pressure. That was what I was living in when I wasn't living my authentic self. Ev, what do you make of all this right here, right now? What are you
Yeah,
hearing?
I love that full court pivot analogy. That's very cool. And that's all of the shifting, isn't it? It's a shifting that we do as men, just as much as females, but obviously tonight we're talking about as men. And the thing is, the ability to be able to do that as a masculine energy is so, so important, because then that ties into the areas within resilience. We may take this so many hits within our life, whether it be via, career, relationships, whatever it may be outside of self. But it's how we're picking ourselves up each time. And what I'm finding with a lot of the brothers that I'm helping on their journey is that they're getting up quicker. They're starting to get up quicker. But there needs to be tangible map. There needs to be some sort of structure in that masculine energy. And, I start to see this in a lot of areas. I'm like I said, I'm all about that side of faith and surrendering, et cetera, et cetera. But there also needs to be something tangible down on paper. What does that look like? Goals, intentions, a vision, purpose. You see, these things give us meaning within our life as a man. It gives us our idea of the conquest or the journey as the masculine energy, the hero on the journey. See, many of us, we may not have had that as a young boy. And it's what I see in a lot of young brothers. They didn't have that role model. They didn't have the Superman to take them into the world. So that's why we lean on the beloved or the influencer. We're leaning on all this shit that's outside of self because we haven't been brought up with that particular directional guidance in this world that we're currently living in. So like I said, we have to take the responsibility. But I always say this after a 4-step process with my clients. We have to reflect. To reflect is to sit with oneself, to really nurture and really understand your own emotions, the thought processes, understand your actions and behaviors up until this point. The second step for me is then you take the review those past experiences. Then we can evaluate as a masculine energy. And then that's when you make the move. We have to action within our life, brothers and sisters. I'm talking on the masculine energy here because we both, as we know, we have the masculine and the feminine energy. And we can talk about what we want to do within our life. And a lot of people always say to me, Ev, I'll do everything that you say. I understand what you're talking about. I always tell them, you want to change something in this physical reality, you've got to change something in this physical reality. It's the action of the masculine energy that gets shit done down here.
Beautiful. Love that. Love that. Wow. It feels so good to be back here in the studio. It is now April of 2024. Last time we were live was at the end of 23. We took a hiatus. We took some time off to regroup. At least for me, I had to do some inner work to come to some terms with the shifts and changes. Even in Real Men Real Talk Live, obviously you can see there's been a change. But through change is how we grow. Through change is how we learn. Through change is how we pick up wisdom and healing. Kaimalu, I want to shift gears one more time on episode 178 this evening. How much of an influence, how were you impacted by one or both of your parents in your relationship with yourself? Are we enough as men? How did your mother or father influence you in either your younger years or say younger years in your childhood or as you stepped into your early 20s? Was it a positive? Was it a harmful? Was it healthy? What was it like for you? And this show is all about us being real without clearly at times, I've got myself into a pickle too because when I speak my truth, not everybody on a family side is ready to hear it. But you see, this is where we get to show up and grow up.
Yes. Thank you for that question, Jay. I think it would be wrong to say that my childhood was totally positive or totally negative. You know, my parents gave me a lot of really incredible opportunities in terms of getting able to live in some really wonderful places, being born and raised in Hawaii and getting to live in Australia as well growing up. And it was actually my dad who got me started at a very young age on music, which I've realized very recently in the last couple weeks being in Sedona, that really is truly my purpose after taking a break from that and doing some soul searching traveling. So I'm super grateful and blessed for both my parents and everything that they taught me. But in terms of their romantic relationship, it gave me a lot of negative beliefs and ideas about what love looks like that I had to really unravel and choose for myself what I did and did not resonate with and what I saw. And a lot of what I saw in that relationship are things that I don't resonate with. My mom growing up, she took on a lot more of the masculine energy, I would say, in terms of being the breadwinner of the family, kind of having this more aggressive way of communicating. And from my perspective, my dad, out of fear of the family coming apart, or especially when we lived in Australia, him not being able to remain in the country if my mom kicked him out of the house, I saw him fall into a very passive way of being, where he's not standing up and really owning himself and speaking his truth as fully as he maybe could be. And I have a lot of empathy and understanding as to why this was the case. And also, what I learned as a child was that to actually come forward and speak my truth fully and authentically was not a safe thing to do, because I had a mother who would react very strongly to certain truths. And I learned from a young age that I had to lie. I had to, in order to protect people's feelings and keep a safe container in a relationship, in a family setting, I can't be myself. I can't be open. I can't be honest. I have to accommodate other people's feelings. And this took me a while to unlearn. That reflection came up a lot in my first romantic relationship. Just not honoring myself, putting other people's feelings and emotions above mine, and out of some level of fear of rejection or being attacked. And yeah, I guess that was the role that I felt I needed to play as the man in the relationship, was to totally prioritize this other person's feelings and well-being above my own. And I think this was one of the major lessons from my parents' relationship that I've had to unlearn over the last few years.
I want to thank you for being transparent and speaking your truth. This is your reality, man, and this is I'll say this is that as unique and as beautiful as you are, this is what we all, I believe, as men and women, this is what we get to kind of unravel when we become the young adult and look at how we've been influenced and impacted. And then so many of us kind of go to a repeat, wash, and rinse cycle. We are not even consciously aware of how we are behaving is what was kind of programmed into us on a subconscious level. But I do want to take this question here One of you probably know Shanice, but here's her question. She says, I want to know how you can handle the challenge of a female or a friend that pulls you into that dark path.
Mhm.
How would you yourself pull away from that situation? Who wants to take a stab at this one?
Mm. All right, I can try that out. Yeah, that's no that but sorry, first off, Kai, I really appreciate your vulnerability and your openness, to talk about, the relationship and things that you've learned from your mother and father. Uh, there was a lot of points you hit that just really, really hit really hard. And I had to just take a minute to kind of just reset myself because I was feeling everything you were saying. Um, you have such a very beautiful soul. And I'm very proud of the journey that you are going on and discovering for yourself. Um, your story really made me just really dig into myself, right, and try to find my own self discovery as far as how my relationship is with my parents. And you just beautifully told it so well. So I just wanted to say thank you first before tackling the question. Sorry, Jan, I didn't mean to.
No, no. Hey, one thing here on this show, there is no
Yeah.
space for saying I'm sorry. You just spoke your truth, so I'm going to invite you to take that back. Take it back, Avery.
All right,
You
take
didn't
it
do
back. Take it all back.
you didn't do anything wrong. You just speaking your truth, and you're just expressing with love in your heart and just honoring in this moment what
Yeah,
Kai just shared. And so that's beautiful, man. Beautiful.
yeah,
Welcome to Real Men Real Talk Live.
yeah.
That's how we do it here.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Definitely was holding back some tears. Not gonna lie. I was like, all right, gotta pull it together, don't go yet. But no, so this is a beautiful question. And I feel personally I've come to many situations where, a lot of my friends, they follow this very dark path or a path where they feel they can't escape. And, as that friend, you want to always be there with them. But at what point does it start affecting you, right? At what point does their darkness start taking control of yours? And I feel as a man, the way personally I feel like I've been able to handle those situations with my friends is, you know, I personally feel like I bring such a very light, you know, persona and presence that I feel no matter how dark that path may be with my friend, I always feel I'm able to at least guide them out. And if it came to a point where I notice my light may be dimming from their dark path where I feel like there is no escape, or when I feel like it's been a repetitive nature of like, hey, I've been trying to show you this path and you haven't figured it out, then to me personally, what I've done is I become like this, like a guardian angel, like an invisible guidance. Like I'm no longer telling you or trying to really, really, pull you out at this point. I'm now going to let you follow this path, follow this path, this darkness of how dark you may need to go. And I can't no longer be with you right there, but I'll always kind of just, in a sense, blow a little cloud your way to kind of just push you here this way to help get you out of that path of darkness. But it's a very tough situation. It's a very grueling situation. And as for men, I think we're built, in our masculine energy to have that strength, to have that willpower, to have that just that growl to be like, I'm going to be able to, handle the situation for my friends or family, boyfriend, girlfriend, relationship, doesn't matter. It's the fact that you just become this rock that you may need to be, and just hold steady and just keep trying to, hold them close, hold them tight as best as possible as they, follow this path that they may have to just figure it out on their own, and know that if you step away, don't let that guilt, take over from you, like, oh, I didn't do enough, I didn't do this and that, because now you're going to start again putting more pressure, more value than what you're actually able to give, and you're going to strain yourself. And then once that happens, you're no good for anybody. So it's just really important to know, of course, that balance of when you can be present in that situation with your friend who's going through that dark path, and when you have to kind of just pull yourself out and just be that invisible guidance for them as they try to figure out on their own and hopefully pull themselves out while you're there.
Ev, what are you
Beautiful,
hearing?
brother. Yeah, man. Brothers are lit tonight, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely lit. And Mary said it out there. I can't believe it, you know, these young brothers, they're so aware on their journey, current space within their life, and to, you know, be around with the same support, and, you know, with two brothers, obviously with Jay and I, that have been through the journey as well. It's only going to help us all grow as one. But on that question, you know, it's a beautiful question, because that's been me. I've been pulled down that dark path a couple of times within relationships.
Yeah.
What we've got to understand, brothers, is that when we talk about this masculine and this feminine energy, we've got to understand and understand really it is in the feminine energy's nature to challenge the masculine energy in this world. But she only challenges the masculine energy to understand, is he capable? Does he have the strength? And is he able to lead with love out of that challenge? Not out of power, but the power of love. That's you putting up loving, honoring, healthy boundaries for yourself. I couldn't do it back in the day because I was that guy wanting to be liked and loved by everyone because of the hits I took in the early younger years. But those boundaries are a form of self-love, brothers. And they teach you as a man to be the leader of your life. Naturally, then, the feminine energy is going to feel safe that she has a man that is going to be able to lead her within her life and be more receptive and receiving of the masculine energy that is creating that stability, not only for her within our life, but for him, which shows another big form of self-respect, but most importantly, the connection and the partnership itself.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Ev. I want to drop in a comment from a viewer that, well, I know personally. Welcome back, Kristen Carabella. And I want to invite one of you to piggyback off of her statement here. She says, I find when I found my value and opened my eyes and acted on that, other people didn't really like that. So there was sadness with those losses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of that, Kaimalu?
Yes. I mean, I think a big part of that ties into what Evis was speaking on just now too, of setting the boundaries. That's become a big practice for me over the last year. It's setting clear and healthy boundaries with people. And it acts as a filtration for me between the people who are supposed to be in my life and the people who are not. If you hear my boundaries and respect, then you are a person who adds value to my life, and I will continue to engage and have a relationship with you. But there has been a lot of people who we were just talking about as well, going down that dark path, where as I started reassessing that within myself, I have to let those people go. And it's not like a total shut door. This is one of the things that brings me a lot of solace with this, is it's not a total closing of the door. It's just, right now, I recognize that you're here, and that's not bringing anything of value into my life. A lot of love for you and permission and respect. Go do what you need to do, explore those themes, and find yourself. And if at any point in time you choose to start loving yourself, start honoring yourself, and owning yourself, and you have that to share, I'm always here. But if if on your journey you are pulling down, I feel you're pulling me with you, then I need to set that boundary very clear, because this is my life. This is my journey. And I heard Avery speak on as well, kind of like trying to get people to come with you. And I had to let that go too. That was my first relationship in a nutshell. Was I see all the things that you're struggling with and dealing with, and I feel like I can kind of bring you out of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized too, this is a very arrogant thing to believe about myself, that I can save people in this way, that I know what's best for people, because that's not true. And the only person at the end of the day who really brought me out of these dark places was myself. And so to really allow people the opportunity to go as far down that dark path as they need to go, and maybe it all needs to fall apart. And then maybe that's where they get that spark, that click of inner strength, and they can start building up from there. Yeah.
So I have a question. Let's say piggybacking off of that, I'll speak to Avery, because I know you have children, and as well as I do. We talk about the fear of setting boundaries, whether it be our own children or siblings or partners, even parents.
Yeah.
How how do we navigate through that, understanding that there is a risk we play
Mm-hmm.
when we finally step into our needs,
Yeah.
not being selfish in any way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not suggesting that, but I'm suggesting that we protect ourselves in a healthy way, even if it means a very close relative of ours, like a children or our partner, a love, or siblings or parent. I'm sure you've had to learn how to navigate through that in your adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
What's that been like? What's that been like for you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a beautiful question. It's a beautiful comment, and it made me chuckle, because one thing that I've learned and kind of been told, when finding my value, right, setting those boundaries, like Kai said, like I've been you start having those losses, right, because people come and they might say like, oh, you're being an asshole, or you're being mean, or you're being cold, or they start throwing all these negative traits on towards you as you're constantly finding yourself and setting these boundaries. And there is that risk of misunderstanding, right? There is that risk of like, hey, maybe they're not going to understand that boundary that you're set, and they may feel a way about it. But one thing that I am learning, and something that I'm actually learning from my own parents now, currently, like with my father, is that not everyone's just going to like you. Not everyone's going to like you, and it's not your job to make everyone like you, because once you do that, right, you run into risk, like Kai was saying. You start, essentially being a people pleaser, trying to make sure that everyone likes you, that, their feelings are being taken care of versus your own. And, like Kai said, it does become arrogant, because you feel like you see these problems and you're like, oh, I can bring that out, I can bring those out to the light. And basically, when that happens, you're ruining your own boundaries, because you already had your set beliefs, you already had your set stands, you already had your set, who you were. But you ultimately have this in yourself where like you have to be a people pleaser and have everyone like you. And when that happens, is you lose yourself. So you have to, I think personally for me, you just have to accept that when you find your own value, when you find your own worth, when you set those boundaries, whether that is with your family, even with your own child, and your partner, which again, those all have their own set path and how those are handled, but you still have to set those healthy boundaries for yourself in order to just still be true to yourself, but also just be able to connect to your mind, body, and soul, and be fully functional, right? Yeah.
Beautiful. Love it.
Mhm.
Well, you're not going to believe it, gentlemen, but we are coming up on an hour. And wow, I just got chills because man, I've enjoyed being more of a viewer tonight than I feel like I'm just in it, listening so much,
Yeah.
so much wisdom hits that you've dropped in. Ev, in a spirit of time, I want to invite you to put a pretty bow in the show and close us out. Wrap it up for us tonight, will you?
Beautiful, brothers. And thanks, Avery and Kai. Absolutely beautiful to start off the season again. And we're very grateful, obviously, for young brothers to come onto the set with us tonight. No doubt they'll be with many more, Jay the Rothman.
Yeah, I think it's possible. Totally possible.
But yeah, it's been beautiful again to visit, obviously, the journey about this masculine energy. Like I said, brothers and sisters, we're being hit on many angles out in the collective at the moment, especially our brothers. If you are starting to feel those hits and you are taking the force still, what I really do encourage is to find a mentor, find a group of brothers even that revere and that you enjoy the support and the love and the care to be around you, that are going to help you align to those talents, gifts, and capabilities I talked about early at the show. Anything outside of that that does not connect with your values, your vision, or that purpose, it doesn't belong in your life. The time's up. Put up the boundaries to guard those values. Allow yourself to align to that vision. Allow yourself to align to that purpose, like I said, which will give you your meaning in life, to endeavor and to journey through what we call this reality that we're living in. You know, one thing for me when I was growing up and I didn't really have the support that I really wanted or enjoyed within my life, the one thing that I do still see with a lot of men that they are not connected with is nature.
Mm-hmm.
Culturally, we were always connected to that nature, to that feminine energy. That connection will allow you not only to be connected with that feminine energy, but to always know your value, to always know your worth. You see the abundance, you see the value out there in nature. The real question really, brothers, it shouldn't be about, am I enough as a man? I'd be more saying, man, oh man, I've had enough.
Boom, boom.
It's time to move on, brothers.
Right there. I think we got ourselves a show tonight. Wow. Evan, I'm gonna invite you to repeat that one more time because I want it to land, not only for the four of us, but every viewer that's watching us live tonight or on replay.
Brothers, it's not about, am I enough as a man? It's, man, oh man, I've had enough.
Wow. And on that note, viewers, if you enjoyed episode 178, season 4 premiere, we invite you to share it out with your friends and family on social media and even off social media. And on that note, we will be back next Tuesday evening, same time, same station. And we'll be broadcasting a brand new topic next Tuesday night, 6 p.m. West Coast, 9 p.m. on the East Coast. And with that, I want to thank my beautiful two special guests joining us this evening, Avery and Kaimalu, that just stepped in with absolutely having no real sense other than they trusted that they'd show up right on time. And with that, I want to thank all of you for joining us this evening on Real Men, Real Talk, Live.